Right, it's about that time. As we do each and every Tuesday, it is time for Hip Hop is Bread with my man Raj Katecha from Love Soul. What is happening, Raj?
What's happening, Tech? It's been a crazy week. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. The seasonal affect disorder has definitely kicked in. Like, the days are getting shorter and all of that, but I'm just struggling. I'm trying to get along with it. I'm looking
outside right now, and it's dark and it's kind of depressing. But I can tell you, there's a bunch of heat that we can talk about at the very least. I know that's a corny segue, but I've got some good news to give to the people today.
That sounds good, man. Tell us what's going on.
So the thing that got me the most excited this week, when I thought, as we were getting ready for this feature, that the music scene had been a little bit quiet, obviously with a lot of people now going out to start doing shows because it's kind of semester season all across the US and across the UK, we get two new hot records from, I think you agree, classic artists, Missy Elliott and Timbaland.
Most definitely, man.
So it's incredible to hear these guys kind of back in the studio together. For those of you who've been you have to kind of really follow these two artists closely to see that this was going to. Okay, let me give you that line again. You have to follow these artists quite closely to see that there's something hot always about to happen towards the end of the year. If you were watching the blogs towards the beginning of the year, you've seen in April that they got together at the Hennessy Wild Rabbit Party in New York, and then at the beginning of this month, September, they were in Miami getting together. The good news is there's two records that you need to Google. One is called Triple Threat, where they refer to themselves as the new Ike and Tina, and then another equally hot one, both very dope records. The second one is called Ninth Inning. So get online right now, check those two records out. I really think there's a strong case even if you're a new school hip hop fan or even an old school hip hop fan. It's definitely kind of bridging the gap between kind of two generations of hip hop fans.
I think it'd be real nice for them to come back and do something spectacular, with like the kind of, that Slaughterhouse and a Fat Joe record. I really like that record because it's kind of got a new school vibe to it, with Slaughterhouse with their new buzz and everything, but it's got an old school feel to it, and that's what I'd love to see from them too, man.
Yeah, and speaking of buzz, as these guys are doing the sounds now that Missy and Timbaland are promoting this new music, of course the question came up about what their position was on Drake getting involved in Aaliyah's music. Now, Missy said it was not a subject that she'd like to get into until Aaliyah's family gave their status on it. She kind of alluded to the fact that she'd need to hear Aaliyah's family say that it's okay before she put her 2 cents in. What she also said was it was a bit of a touchy subject because it's unreleased music. And so she said that she doesn't know why that music was ever unreleased. Maybe that Aaliyah herself might have felt like it wasn't her best work. Now, this was on the Angie Martinez show on Hot 97, which you can find online. But additionally, Timbaland weighed in when he was asked, have you ever heard the Drake record? To which he said he's only heard a snippet. And when he was asked if he wanted to hear the full record, he actually refused.
Wow. Read between the lines on that one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There was another interview that he did on The Breakfast Club where he said that if it was to be done and Drake was to be a part of it, a dependent part of it, i.e. he's got the music and it was licensed to him, then at the very least Timbaland and Missy should be part of that project. So you can see that it's definitely kind of a raw nerve subject for these guys. They didn't go into it too much. They were quite smart on the interview. They held back a little bit. But I think that if we do see this one Drake-Aaliyah single graduate into a whole album, that there's going to be a lot more people speaking about it.
I just hope they do it right, man. I don't want one of these just posthumous albums with 52 different artists on it and it just feels like a collection of different songs. I don't know, maybe I'm asking for too much, Raj.
Well, you see, you're absolutely right, because when you look at these posthumous albums, for the most part, they don't do that well. I mean, if you look at the third installment of Big Series, it wasn't that great. I mean, there was a lot of artists on there that you wouldn't have assumed would have worked with Biggie cohesively if he was still alive on that third project. Yeah. But alas, it's all to play for. But of course, like Biggie, Aaliyah is one of those people that true school music lovers keep very, very close to their heart, and it's something that content-wise, music-wise, has to be handled the right way.
Because I didn't hate that Drake and Aaliyah song, but I don't want to see, Aaliyah and Waka Flocka or something like that. It's not going to sit right with me.
Yeah, well, a couple of months ago, I posted the Drake and Aaliyah song, or Aaliyah and Drake song, on my Facebook, and it was almost like I offended all the music fans on my Facebook. There's 2,000 people, and everyone just jumped on my status like I'd offended their mum or something like that.
As if you made it.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So I think what people are saying at the ground is that this is not the record for them, and that was the feedback I was getting from a lot of DJs. I know certainly since I've been out spinning in the clubs, and maybe you too, that no one's really dropped the record to make anything happen in the club.
Nah, I mean, I don't really see it as a club record, but when I first heard it, I was like, this is nothing, and it's grown on me a little bit, but I just take it as a standard Dre and Noah type beat, and I didn't really think what he was talking about on the record lyrically really made any sense. The concept of the tune didn't make sense, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was alright.
I feel like Drake would have given that verse to any record. It didn't really feel like it was custom for Aaliyah, and of course that's the direction it needs to go in. Moving on to some UK news for the first time in Hip Hop Is Bread. This week was the week that the MOBO nominations were announced. Now, last year, the big controversy was all about Jessie J and how much coverage she had and how successful she was, particularly being a white artist in the whole MOBO space, which I think we can all agree upon reflection was just a bunch of BS and a bunch of absolutely unnecessary noise. But this year, Kanye King came out and gave the CEO of MOBOs, gave her statement about how it's been another great year for urban music. And it was kind of a very generic statement to the press. And it kind of forced me to look at the nominations. And one thing I picked up this year is that a lot of the nominations are heavily weighted towards just a handful of artists. So let me tell you what I noticed. 5 nominations for Emily Sandé, who's an absolutely incredible artist, got some brilliant coverage for the Olympics, which would have done great for her global footprint, and certainly will move her out to the US a lot quicker. 5 nominations again for Plan B. 4 nominations for Rita Ora. 4 nominations for Labyrinth. So I would actually argue that, again, the MOBOs, for those people who still care about the MOBOs, haven't really given the best kind of spread to all the artists that are in the UK, particularly the UK artists. And then if you look at the international acts, which are all kind of the biggest acts in urban, all categorized into one, you're looking at Azalea Banks, Beyonce, Drake, Frank Ocean, Jay-Z and Kanye West, Nas, Neo, Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, and Rick Ross. So, I don't know how relevant the MOBOs are moving forward. And another thing as well is that it's kind of interesting because this year they're going to be at the Echo Arena in Liverpool. And if you look at the background behind those deals, MOBO actually get money from patients that they go to, and they've actually got a deal in place with Event Scotland for them to be at the Scottish Exhibition Conference Centre, and they've put up some big money from what I hear, and they've actually spread that out over 2011, which was last year's one, 2013, which will be next year's one, and 2015. So it looks like they've got a bit of a roadmap ahead of them, but I just don't know if the MOBOs as a brand or the way that they're categorizing it and the decisions that are being made are really exciting people on the ground, particularly because we live in such a globally connected music society with the internet. I don't know if it's really relevant to kind of the music consumers of the UK. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can gauge on whether something like this is really taking control of people's minds. And mostly it's just, when you're out and about, when you're on the streets, when you're talking to people, the internets, are they buzzing? And I've seen every year it just go down. Going a few years back when they really just made some crazy decisions in terms of nominations and everyone started thinking that the MOBOs is not making sense anymore. I don't know. It'll be interesting for me to see what kind of show they put on, but I think also the MTV Awards this year were kind of a non-event as well. So it seems like it's a trend to me, but let's see.
Yeah, I mean, let's see how it pans out. I think there's always a little bit of additional excitement when the show comes out on TV, but for the most part, it's just becoming kind of a very whimsical kind of award show right now. And I think when you've got so much weight placed on so many artists, there just happen to be artists with kind of great cross-promotional potential like Plan B with the movies, or great international potential like Emily Sandé, that it's not really a fair spread. We already know that that's not anything of the hard talent. I don't know if it's a whole spread of music like the MOBOs may have been, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Moving back over the other side of the Atlantic, for those underground cats, and I like to mention a mixtape every single week on this show, Nipsey Hussle, one of my favorite artists from the West Coast, has announced Victory Lap, which is going to be the 3rd installment on his marathon series. So if you can get a chance, have a look online for Nipsey Hussle Marathon series. There's 2 mixtapes out already, and this is the 3rd one. Kind of reminds me of a young Snoop, very, very hard, very, very street, lyrically very, very, very talented, and one to watch out for, without a doubt.
Most definitely, man. I'm going to have to go home and check that one out. I do like Nipsey Hussle, so I'm looking forward to hearing that.
The guy is super dope, and he's at Nipsey Hussle on Twitter. And then wrapping up today with some more news from across the Atlantic, my man, Rick Ross, finally hit gold. He acts like an artist from the first single that he released as if he's multi-platinum. But the big guy has only just hit gold, and I think it's a great album if you look at how diverse God Forgives and I Don't actually was. Of course, the hardcore lyrical fans, the people that follow the Mos Defs and the Talibs, are not going to be there for the lyrics. As far as like a piece of work, even though we know it's kind of like it feels like a made-up gangster series, it's some of the best theatrical rap music you can listen to. And to celebrate, in great timing, as is always the case coming out of the MMG content schedule, he's put out a Hold Me Back version, a video version that was shot in Nigeria. So check that video out as well. Rick Ross really kind of associating himself to the streets all over the world.
That is crazy. That is only gone gold. I bet you 99% of fans out there, like you said, would assume that he's been gold forever.
Yeah.
And I think the one person who would know that he's never been gold is probably someone like 50 Cent, who loves like pulling up SoundScan figures and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. But you know what? You've got to bear in mind that if you're looking at Rick Ross and what he's doing, you know, there's lots of talk about him having a very successful car rental business where he's got kind of exclusive Maybachs. There's a lot of talk about his real estate portfolio and what he's doing with that. And of course, if he feels like a platinum artist to the people and to the streets, they're going to be packing out his shows. And as you know, it's much better now to do a club show in Vegas for 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people 5 nights in a row to try and sell out a 17,000 person concert arena. And of course, from what we know, he's there getting money doing shows. His portfolio of artists from Meek Mill to Stally to Wale, they're all doing incredibly well. Gunplay, they've all got the streets kind of buzzing. So he's making money across the board. He feels like a platinum artist because he's probably getting money like a platinum artist. As far as SoundScan's concerned, he's just hit that gold mark. So well done to him.
Yeah, love that, man. Love that. Also, you may not have known about this. This is something that I've heard from a very, very connected source that is actually buying up a load of things here. You never guess what he's buying.
What?
Sam's Chicken Shop, bud.
He really is.
He's buying up all of Sam's Chicken, and that's going to be his thing. Oh, boss!
Ilotech, I think we're going to see a lot more Rick Rosses walking around the streets.
You're going to see his face on the cover of
that Rick Ross.
You get me?
Yeah.
That's it, man. Well, Ricky Raj, always a pleasure to talk to you, my brother.
Of course, man. I appreciate the chance to speak on your show. And of course, you can check out the links on lovesoul.tv for every story that I've mentioned today. Shout out to everyone listening.
Done on the MySpace. All right, Rajman, we'll catch you right here next week, same time, same place, bro.
All right, respect, y'all.
Peace, bro.